Alexander III of Macedon, commonly known as Alexander the Great, was a great king of Macedon, a state in northern ancient Greece. Born in Pella in 356 BC, Alexander was tutored by Aristotle until the age of 16. He was a man torn by conflict between the lofty wisdom of his teacher, Aristotle, loyalty to his warrior father, and his own grand design to conquer the world as he rode his famous horse, Bucephalus, from Greece, through Persia and Afghanistan to India. By the age of 30, he had created one of the largest empires of the ancient world, stretching from the Ionian Sea to the Himalayas. He was undefeated in battle and is considered one of history's most successful commanders, strategists, and tacticians. To Alexander the Great, the peaks of the Hindu Kush were the edges of the world over which he rode his famous horse Bucephalus. This is the legend of Bucephalus, 355 BC to 326 BC, as retold by Gary W. Bowersox. Bucephalus, pronounced Bucephalus, was Alexander the Great's horse, bred from the best Thessalian strain and considered by some to be the most famous horse in history. The horse was reported to have been a massive creature with a massive head. Bucephalus means ox head in ancient Greek. The initial meeting of Alexander at the age of 12 and Bucephalus was unique, but demonstrated the true character of one of the greatest generals in all of history, and his horse, whose heroic attributes surpassed even those of Pegasus. Initially, Bucephalus was brought to Macedonia and presented to King Philip II, Alexander's father, in 346 BC by Philonicus of Thessaly, with a price tag almost 3 times the norm, 13 talents according to Plutarch, or 16 talents according to Pliny the Elder, which would be 57 to 60 pounds of gold or silver. The beautiful black horse stood taller than the normal Macedonian steed, but was considered well-bred and intelligent, but too wild and unmanageable, rearing up against anyone who would come near him. Philip ordered Bucephalus to be led away. Alexander sat in the audience with his mother, Olympias, watching the spectacle before him. As the attendants tried to lead Bucephalus away, Alexander rose, calling them spineless. According to Plutarch's biography of Alexander, the young prince said, "What an excellent horse do they lose, for want of address and boldness to manage him." At first, Philip ignored the challenge, but finally said to Alexander, "Do you reproach those who are older than yourself, as if you were better able to manage him than they?" Alexander, ignoring his father's remark, repeated his challenge and said he would pay for the horse if he, Alexander, were unable to tame him. Amid wild laughter, Alexander approached the horse he would name Bucephalus calmly. He had realized something that others had not. The horse was afraid of his own shadow. Turning Bucephalus towards the sun so his shadow was behind him, and slowly taking the reins in his hand, touching him gently, whispering comforting sounds, letting the horse see the movement of the sun and the shadow, learning there was nothing to fear in this strange field, surrounded by unknown strangers, Alexander eased onto the horse's back. Bucephalus stood alert but calm, turning his ears back in an attempt to understand this confident boy on his back. Alexander worked the reins and leg pressure just enough to take his horse from a trot to a canter, as everyone held their breath. He gave the horse more rein, allowing Bucephalus to move into a gallop. Keeping the horse's head up, he urged him with his heel and leg pressure into a full run as he galloped off with Alexander on his back. Upon his return, the laughter of the crowd turned to cheers. As Alexander dismounted in front of Philip, the crowd surrounded father, horse, and son, with tears of laughter and joy, pride showing in his very gesture. Philip, according to Plutarch, said, "O my son, look thee out a kingdom equal to and worthy of thyself, for Macedonia is too little for thee." Historians claim this taming of the wild Bucephalus was a turning point in the young prince's life, demonstrating the confidence and determination he was to show in his conquest of Asia. Bucephalus and Alexander were inseparable. Only Alexander could ride him, And indeed he did, into most every battle from the conquest of the Greek city-states and Thebes through Gaugamela, though what is now known as Afghanistan, and turned into India. Alexander taught Bucephalus to kneel in full harness before him, so that he could mount more easily in armour, which was a trick the Greeks learned first from the Persians. After the final defeat of Darius, king of Persia, Bucephalus was kidnapped, while Alexander was away on an excursion. Best known as the Daylamites of medieval fame, they stole Bucephalus. Upon returning and learning of the theft, Alexander promised to fell every tree, lay the countryside to waste, and slaughter every inhabitant in the region. The Daylamites obeyed at once and gave Bucephalus back with a plea for mercy. In early May 326 BC, Alexander added 5,000 Indians to his army and left Taxila, India, now in Pakistan, riding Bucephalus. Beyond Taxila, by the river Jhelum, was Porus, the area ruler, and his army riding elephants. The elephants were awesome. They blocked the bank, and when carefully goaded, they wearied the ear with their hideous trumpeting. No horses, and few men would go against such a monstrous horde. This battle with Porus was Alexander's masterpiece in the field. He would gallop cavalry up and down the bank of the river at night, ordering them to strike up a war cry in the dark. At first, Porus's guards kept pace with them, but night after night nothing happened. Finally, the Indians presumed that it all meant nothing more than a deliberate disruption of their sleep. When Porus had been lulled, Alexander struck. Alexander won the battle of the day, but old Bucephalus died in the field. Alexander decided to found 2 cities on the banks of the Jhelum River, and the nearest one to the battlefield he called Nicaea, City of Victory. The westerly one, near the side of Bucephalus's last river crossing, he named Bucephala, in memory of his gallant horse. A funeral procession was organised, which Alexander led in person, and the horse's remains were laid to rest in a grave in his town. The site, soon to be damaged by floods, has never been located. Bucephalus's fame could not so easily be washed away, as he appears in many pieces of art and coins. In some portraits, Bucephalus has golden horns, which experts believe he may have been adorned with for battle. Alexander had Afghans join his army, while Gary Bowersox, known as the Gem Hunter, riding through Afghanistan for some 43 years, met Afghan friends who assisted him with exploration and the purchase of rough emeralds. The emeralds are located in the Panjshir Valley, which is a natural fortress, and witnessed some of the fiercest fighting during the Soviet occupation. Since 1988, Gary has been staying with minor friends in the Panjshir Valley. In 2013, Gary and Shahik were shown a rough emerald crystal, which Gary purchased after several negotiation sessions. Gary, with 46 years of experience in the gem business, took the emerald to Uli Pauli, third-generation gem carver, in Idar Oberstein, Germany, with the idea of carving this rich, green emerald into the likeness of Bucephalus. It is now a 70-carat high-quality emerald named the Bucephalus Emerald, and it's for sale.
Like Alexander, I traveled the same route through Panjshir Valley, Afghanistan for more than 30 years without sighting such an emerald. During one's life, doors open and doors close. Opportunities come and go. When I first viewed this emerald in Afghanistan, it was with 2 other large emeralds. I picked each of them up, one at a time, letting the light come through. This Bucephalus emerald, as it is now known, was the only one that exhibited a rich green emerald color. Like many times in life, you have only a few seconds or a few minutes to make a decision. Rarely is the decision a sure thing, but in this case I was comfortable that it could be carved into a rare, sizable piece. Now my journey of the discovery in Afghanistan to Germany for the carving has ended. My goal now is to locate a buyer to take the next step and design a magnificent piece of jewelry or art object. Once sold, I will continue my journey as a gem hunter with the funds received, searching for the next spectacular piece of rough gem material. Thank you for taking the time to hear this famous horse and gem story.